Hello everyone, you're looking at me through a steering wheel today, and I'm reviewing this book Hell House by Richard Matheson. I was going to say by Stephen King, but I know that's wrong. I saw this book in the Battersea Power book station. I've not heard of it before, but Battersea Power book station is nice. Get there if you can, because it's not part of the chain. It's not part of Waterstones or Foyles or any of those. Waterstones and Foyles are the same thing essentially. Waterstones owns Foyles, so they have books that are a little bit different, books you won't necessarily see on display in those big stores. And there are a few that I saw there, and I thought, that looks good, but I didn't buy any that day. I went back recently and got this Hell House. When I first saw it, I picked it up and saw on the front that it said Hell House is the scariest haunted house novel ever written. That's by Stephen King, so I thought that's a good recommendation. And went back and bought it, read it. It is good, it's really good. Richard Matheson, by the way, is the guy who wrote I Am Legend, which pretty much set up the whole zombie or even vampire zombie apocalypse era. So if you like things like Van Helsing on Netflix or anything like that, then Richard Matheson's probably got something to do with that being created, because the original story like that was I Am Legend, which has been turned into a film a few times. And he also wrote the only Twilight Zone episode I ever remember seeing, which is the one about the gremlin on the plane. Not the gremlin, the little monster on the wing. Nightmare at 20,000 feet. Onto the book. So I'll read you the back of it. For over 20 years, Belasco House has stood empty. Its shadowed walls have witnessed scenes of almost unimaginable horror and depravity. Two previous expeditions to investigate its secrets met with disaster, the participants destroyed by murder, suicide, or insanity. Now a new investigation brings four strangers to the forbidding mansion. Forbidding? Yeah, well, maybe thought it said foreboding. But the forbidding mansion, who are determined to probe Belasco House for the ultimate secrets of life and death. Each has his or her own reason for daring the unknown torments and temptations of the mansion. But can any soul survive what lurks within the most haunted house on earth? Ooh. No conversation about the greatest horror writers of all time would be complete without bringing up Richard Matheson. That's from houseofgeekery.com. One of the absolute best contemporary horror novels, one of my favorites, by Peter Straub. It is a good book. Did it frighten me? Not really. Did it make me want to continue reading? Yes. Did parts of it make me think, God, this is so cliche? Yes. But then it was written a long time ago. Anything which births a genre is going to eventually become cliche, because the genre will be, to some respect, reproductions of the original. So you'll have seen it 100 times, but it's always good to go back to the source. I imagine it would frighten a lot of people. I only recently got back into horror, you know. I watched a lot of horror movies in my childhood, which I shouldn't have done, of course, and my teens and my 20s, but then I stopped in my 30s and recently started watching them again. The book is good. He's a good writer. The characters are interesting. They're believable characters. Some of the scenes are a bit, could have seen that coming, but like I said, that's because it birthed a genre. I recommend you read it. Look, if you like horror and if you haven't read anything by Richard Matheson, go ahead and read it. If you have read anything by Richard Matheson and not that, read it. Just through, an interest in literature and an interest in writing, to see something, this is seminal really, because this was really the first one. And I imagine if I hadn't been so inured to horror through watching all the Amityville horrors and all the Omen and everything else and every other haunted house horror ever, then it probably would have scared the pants off of me. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And if I'd never read horror before, I'd probably have given it a 9 out of 10. But it's very bright now and the sun's getting in my eyes, so I'm going to go check out Richard Matheson. Good writer. If you like horror, and if you like Stephen King, or if you like Peter Straub, then they recommend them too. All right.